mud and water. In the gospel for this Sunday, John tells the story of Jesus healing the man who was born blind. And as John tells the story, Jesus spit on the ground to make mud, spread it on the man's eyes, and sent him to wash it off in the pool of Siloam. Mud and water. Mud made from the dirt where Jesus happened to be standing, and water from his own body. Water from the pool, from Mother Earth to wash the man's eyes. I've often wondered when I hear this story why Jesus did it that way. To our ears it sounds, well, kind of gross, especially right now when we're supposed to be distancing ourselves physically from one another. Of course, some of us are old enough to remember our mothers, back in the olden days, spitting on a Kleenex and washing dirt off our faces with it when there wasn't a tap available. Not happening now, but as powerful and mysterious a force as our mothers were, they weren't Jesus. So why did he do this? We know from our stories of other healings that Jesus did. He often just touched the person or spoke a word, even healed a centurion's servant who wasn't even present. So why water and mud? The writer of John's Gospel is a master of symbolism, or perhaps it is Jesus himself who is the master of finding dramatically symbolic ways of doing things. Street theater. Either way, there are few, if any, details in John's stories that don't have some deeper meaning or evoke particular feelings in the listener. This Sunday is World Water Day, and that may be why when I first looked at the scriptures for preaching today, the mud and water details jumped out at me. So I started to think more about that question, about why Jesus might have chosen this strange way of giving the blind man his sight. What stood out for me first is how physical it all is. Earth, saliva, spreading mud on the man's eyes, walking to the pool, washing in the water. The outcome certainly is miraculous and mysterious, but it's all done with humble, gritty, earthly ingredients and physical actions. It's Jesus living right here in the messy, dirty, material world with us, even as one of us. The other thing that struck me is a connection with Genesis, the creation story. In the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens, when no plant of the field was yet in the earth, and no herb of the field had yet sprung up. For the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was no one to till the ground. But a stream would rise up from the earth and water the whole face of the ground. Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. God floods the ground with water and makes mud, and out of the mud creates life. Jesus makes mud, and out of it heals and gives new life. As is so often repeated through the Gospel of John, the Father and the Son are one. But just imagine mud as a metaphor for creation. Now, mud seems humble and ordinary, and most of the time we think of it as dirty and inconvenient. Unfortunately, that's how we, especially in Western culture, often look at creation. Oh, we love the beauty of a sunset, or the birds, or the flowers, or the sparkle of the sun on the water. We know how badly we need a glass of cool water when we're thirsty, and how good it feels when we drink it. We know how much we yearn for a cool breath of air and the shade of a tree on a stifling hot day, and how good it feels when we find it. But in most ways, day to day, in our work and in our commerce, we treat nature as if it were mud with nothing sacred about it. We disrupt and overconsume and pollute and destroy things that God put in creation. And we do it all in our reckless quest for ever-increasing comfort, prosperity, and security. Of course, it's phony prosperity and it's false security if we throw everything out of balance and destroy the sources of life. One of the most important of these sources is water.